No. Put my video on. Huh? So I think we can start, sir. Good.
Audible?
Yes. Yeah.
Who will moderate this meeting? Who's conducting this meeting?
Yeah. Good evening, Doctor. I'm Ravi
Ravi.
here, Doctor.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ravi, please. You can initiate the meeting, Ravi, then I will introduce Dr. Ravi Shankar.
Yeah. The School of Ancient Wisdom welcomes to the sixth session of the Fundamentals of Vedanta, facilitated by Dr. Timapa Egde and Parma Vedanta team. Now I hand over to Doctor.
Thank you, Ravi. Thanks to the School of Ancient Wisdom, Param Vedanta has great pleasure in these continued sessions. This will be the sixth session on the fundamentals of Vedanta. In this session, the speaker will be Dr. Ravi Shankar. Let me briefly introduce Dr. Ravi Shankar to all of you. Dr. Ravi Shankar is a graduate from the JN Medical College at Belgaum, and then he did his post-graduation in orthopedics from KEM Mumbai, and also did the diplomate DNB from the National Board of Examinations. Subsequently, he had a fellowship in joint replacement in Germany and also trained in revision joint replacement. He's been the national faculty for AO International Trauma in Switzerland and has been an honorary consultant orthopedic surgeon at NIMHANS for very many years, since the year that I have been in NIMHANS. He's been practicing as an orthopedic surgeon in Bangalore. Dr. Ravi Shankar has, as the practice in all our talks, we will be presenting one mantra and then a topic on the fundamentals of Vedanta. The topic today will be the famous Guru mantra on how Guru is equated to God. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, will be explained by Dr. Ravi Shankar. In addition to being a highly skilled and popular and sought out orthopedic surgeon in Bangalore, he's had a deep interest in spirituality under the guidance of his guru, His Holiness Swamiji Shankara Bharati of Yadatore Mutt of K.R. Dr. Ravi Shankar will be speaking on the topic of what are those qualities that are required for a student of spirituality. In particularly, it is called Shama Adi Shakta Sampatti. Essentially, it borders on mind mastery. Our mind is our greatest tool, and if you are the master of your mind, Shama means Shama Adi, in addition to controlling your mind, the sense organs. And then how you'll be able to, all of us have only 24 hours. And if you want to achieve extraordinary things, and a spiritual goal is extraordinary, how you will be able to achieve it in the given amount of time. And that is what is called Upparama. You will have to cut off all that is necessary. When you come to a teacher, one of the important qualifications you come is what is called Shraddha. What my teacher says and what my scripture says is gospel truth. So he will tell us about Shraddha. And then as a student, you have an absolute single pointed mind that I want this and nothing else. And for that, you are ready to give anything that is required and what is called Titiksha. So these are the topics Dr. Ravi Shankar is going to speak on to. Over to Dr. Ravi Shankar, please.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very kind introduction. Thank you, Sri Ravi ji, to have initiated the whole session. Can I share my slides, sir?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Is it clear?
Yes.
It's very clear.
Fine. Permit me to go ahead, sir. I thank Param Vedanta and Dr. Timma Phegre sir and his team for getting me on to this beautiful course on Introduction to Vedanta and making me a presenter. There is nothing indeed as purifying as knowledge, said our Guru, Swami Paramarthanandaji. Jnanadeva Kaivalyam is the essence of Vedanta Bharati, which is being taken care of by Sri Shankara Bharati Mahaswamiji. Only through knowledge one attains liberation. Only the knowledge of the self bestows final liberation. I would like to make a prayer. Dhyana Moolam Guruhu Murti, Puja Moolam Guruhu Padam, Mantra Moolam Guru Vakyam, Mukti Moolam Guru Kripa. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo is the verse for today's discussion, and Shatka Sampatti is also for today's discussion. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. This is a very often quoted verse, and this is a verse which came out of the Guru Gita. It was interesting that Parvati asked Shiva, the knower of knowledge, tell me something about Guru and tell me something about the Guru Tattva. And Shiva gave 400 verses, which is the Guru Gita. The 54th verse of that Guru Gita is Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. In simple words, it means Guru is Brahma, Guru is Vishnu, Guru Dev is Maheshwara, and Guru is verily the Param Brahma, the Supreme Brahman. My salutations to that Guru. In the Guru Gita, which is from the Skanda Purana, it is clearly expressed that Brahma, who is the creator of Srishti, Vishnu, who is the preserver or gives rise to Sthiti, and the destroyer of or Laya, Shiva, all of them are the Guru. And Guru is also the Param Brahma. Now let's understand this verse in a slightly different way as a Vedantin. My Guru himself is in the form of the Supreme Brahman, Guru Eva Param Brahma. This Guru appears as Guru Brahma, the creator of knowledge, Guru Vishnu, the sustainer of knowledge, Guru Devo Maheshwara, the destroyer of ignorance. This destroying ignorance and creation and sustaining of knowledge happens at once. This is very much different from what Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara do to the Jagat. They do Srishti, Sthiti and Laya of the Jagat, which is on a timeline and which is finite. But what the Guru does to us in this form of removing the ignorance and sustaining and creation of knowledge is a one-time transformation which is eternal. And to such a Guru, who is the Param Brahma, I worship. So that is the essence of this word, of this verse, which we have been hearing and reciting from childhood, but we do not really understand the meaning of the word till the Vedantic aspect is clearly brought out by our teachers. Now, what do we do to such a Guru? If somebody tells me to prostrate to a Guru, I would think, what is there in it for me if I prostrate to such a Guru? Now, a person who has God as the means and the world as the goal, like a Artha or a Artharthi Bhakta, or for that matter, when he gets a little better and God is the goal and the world becomes the means, like a Jignasu Bhakta, or when the seeker becomes the sought, for all of them, Guru has something to give. And that is brought out by this verse, Jnana Shakti Samarudasya Tattvamala Vibhushitaha Bhukti Mukti Pradatacha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. With the help of the power of Jnanam, he is adorning himself with the mala of Jnanam, and he is able to give Bhukti, which is prayas, Dharma Artha Kama, as well as Mukti, which is Shreyas, which is what all Vedantins would like to have. To such a Guru, when we have to bow, how do we do it? Karmana manasa vacha sarvada aradyet gurun dirgadandam namaskrutyam nirlajjo guru sannidhau. Like bamboo sticks which have been tied, and when the knot is removed, they all fall at once. And that's exactly the way we must have Sharanagati always. And all our karmana actions, manasa thoughts, and vacha speech should be on those lines in the presence or even without the presence, physical presence of the Guru. And it has to be nirlajjo. It has to be without any lajja. It has to be sashtanga namaskara. Continuing this aspect of means and goal, if our means is to get a medal in the Olympics, we work hard with a lot of training, physical fitness. If our means is to get into a professional course, there's a whole lot of reading and practical things to be done. I'm not able to move the slide ahead.
So just click on the slide and use
Yes.
the arrow keys.
Yes, I got it. And if our goal is to go to the school of ancient wisdom, the map tells us you turn, take a left turn, take a right turn, and take a U-turn, and you reach your goal. Exactly the same way, if moksha is our goal, amongst a lot of other things, the 4 Ds, particularly today's topic being discipline or Shatka Sampatti, is extremely essential. And they are the 4 legs of this chair. Each of them is extremely important. Adi Shankara's Viveka Chudamani, one of the verses says, Adau Nitya Anitya Vastu, and goes on to say, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti Mumukshattvamiti Sfutam. So clearly highlights the Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Tattva Bodha, Shatka Sampatti Samadhanas Ka, Shamodama Uparati Titiksha Shraddha Samadhanam Cha Iti is brought out. Adi Shankara's Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, so well explained by Swami Paramarthanandaji. Shamodama Titiksho Uparatihi Shraddha Tataha Param. He says this is Param. In this nice verse, which we sing oftentimes, the Guru Paduka Stotram, Shamadhi Shatka Pradavaibhavabhyam Samadhi Dhana Vratadhikshitabhyam Ramaghavangri Stira Bhakti Dabhyam Namo Namah Shri Guru Padukabhyam. When we bow to the Paduka of our Guru, it's as though the Paduka itself has taken a vow. And the vow is Sthira Bhakti. It gives us Sthira Bhakti as well as Shamadhi Shatka Vaibhavabhyam. And that's the beauty of Shamadhi Shatka. There is this verse in the 16th chapter, Daivi Asuri Sampat. Tejaha Kshama Dhritihi. And the purpose of bringing about this verse here is this word Shama. So the Shama of Shamadhi Shatka and this Shama, there's a little difference. This Shama is Shanti or equanimity of mind, and we will go to it a little later. Prashnottara Ratnamalika of Adi Shankara and the essence of it brought out in Viveka Deepini. Man has done a whole lot of things, and women also have done the same. But what is difficult for the human being? Kim dushkaranam naranam mano yan manaso nigraha satatam. Constant control of the mind is so difficult. Who are the thieves? A question is asked. Kecha dasyavaha. And the answer is Vishayaha, the sense objects. And this is what is going to be highlighted in Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. This was a gentleman who saved himself with a parachute. He was an aircraft fighter. He did his job. He lost the aircraft, but he saved himself. He got gallantry awards. And he was a hero in the society. Everybody knew him. While in a restaurant, when people were talking to him, saying that I know you and you've done a great job, there was one little lad who came and said, I know you, but you don't know me. I'm the one who folded your parachutes. As long as we have that pride and that little ego that I know everything and I have done everything, our teacher so often clearly tells us, ego edges God out. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. It is a preparation for Jnana Yoga. Amongst the sadhana chatushtaya, it is a combination of karma yoga and upasana yoga. It is an inner discipline and it's a treasure. There are 6 of them. Unless we reform ourselves and transform ourselves, we cannot manage others. It's essential that we take care of our self-management. The 6 of them are Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhana. There are so many ways, we don't know which way to go. There are so many thoughts, we don't know which one to hold on to. And hence, in the Bhagavad Gita, the chapter 2, the verse 41, the Lord very clearly highlights that the goal is one, Ekaha, Bahushakha. There are so many ways, so many discourses, practices, religious methods, and we don't know which one to choose. Anantascha buddhayo. There are so many thoughts, but he says, for that travel, your goal being moksha, you must have a vyavasayatmika buddhi. The road back should be absolutely clear. You should know what we are doing. We must change ourselves from being a karmi to becoming a karma yogi. If you remain a karmi, what happens? Kriti mahodadao patana karanam phalamashyasvatam. Let us see what is Shama. Shama is manonigraha. It is mind control. The indriyas are very strong and it is tough to have the mind control. Indriyani pramathini harati prasamam mana. It's so strong that it can take away the mind to different directions. When Swami Vivekananda ji went with his ochre robes to the United States, somebody had a bet and said, I'm sure you cannot putt a golf ball. And Swamiji took the bet and said, let me try. And he did the first shot. The other man lost the bet, and when he asked, how did you do it? He said, I control my mind, and that's how I'm able to do it. Without mind control, it's going down the ladder. This is what oftentimes happens. We are so worried about what's happening to all our senses, and all our mind is controlled by the senses oftentimes. On behalf of us, Arjuna asked this question, Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna pramathi balad. 'Pramathi 'baladh 'dradam. 'Tasyaham nigraham manye 'Pramadena 'Bhayam 'Bhayam 'Bhayam.' 'Pramadena 'Bhayam 'Bhayam' 'Bhayam 'Bhayam' 'Pramadena 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 Vayo Sudushkaram. How difficult it is to control the mind. It is as though as the wind comes and just takes away the mind. And then Krishna gives us the answer. Asanshayam Mahabahu. Yes, you are right. But Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena ta gruhyate. It is only with practice, abhyasa, and with vairagya or dispassion that it is possible to control the mind. What is Dhamma? Chakshuradi Bahendriya Nigriha. The ability to control the sense organs. Chakshu, the eyes, and the other indriyas which are looking outwards. They are the ones which have to be controlled, and they are the sense objects. Indriyani indriyarthe tasya prajna pratishtitha. It is so important that, like the tortoise, which is able to withdraw all its limbs into its shell, we should be able to control our senses, and only then we have a prajna pratishtita. Only then a knowledge becomes a conviction. You know the story of Vali. When there was an enemy, Vali would take and get half the enemy's strength. Exactly the same way, if the senses are not controlled, we lose our strength. That is very difficult. And these senses, in fact, lead to destruction. They don't lead, they mislead us. So we must close our senses to the wandering mind. A person who has a control on the senses, but his mind is still attached to so many things, as the Bhagavad Gita verse says, Nityachara sa uchyate. What is Uparati? Uparama ka is the question in Tattvabodha. Swadharmanushtanam eva. It is the necessity to have our Swadharma. So we have various kinds of dharma. We have a Samanya dharma, we have a Vishesha dharma, and we have a Swadharma. The routine works that we do, the specialized works that we do, the profession that we follow, the works that we do because of our relationship to people in the family and society fall into the Samanya dharma and the Vishesha dharma. Dharmyadi yudhya anyatra kshatriyasya na vidyate. Krishna says, for a kshatriya in a dharma yudhya, there is nothing more which is important than the swadharma of going ahead and fighting the war to Arjuna. So we must reduce our action, though we must do our natural duties. We must do our nitya karma, but we must be very clear of what is our swadharma. And it is very important, like what Adi Shankara said, our swadharma as a human being is to know our true nature, our state of mind, and we must go from pravritti marga to nivritti marga. What is titiksha? Shitoshna sukha dukkha vishnutam. There is another interesting thing about this. It is not just Shita and Ushna. It is not just Sukha and Dukha. It is the Sahishnutam, ability to hold them, control them. And this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 7, adds Mana Apmapana as well. So these are all non-conducive situations. They are pairs of opposites. They are dvandvas. And to cheerfully accept them is Jitatmanah Prashantasya. There is this man who wanted to have a lot of pairs of shoes because he used to like running. But when he saw this person as an amputee, he decided that it is time to give away certain things. There has to be some titiksha. In the 45th verse of the Karma Yoga, Nirdvandvo, we should be away from the dvandvas. Nitya Sattvasto, Krishna says, we must increase our sattva aspect. We must bring down the Rajoguna. Yoga Kshema, whatever we get because of various activities of karma gives us yoga, and we want to preserve it. We must grow over that, niryoga kshema, and only then we become a karma yoga, we become an atmavan. What is Shraddha? Guru Vedanta Vakyadishu Vishwasaha Shraddha. It is faith. And this faith is a complete faith. It is not an intellectual arrogance. It is a faith which is explicit. It is only with faith that we can do manana and nididhyasana. Vedanta asks and likes questioning till we have clear conviction. So it is not blind faith. Na sukham samshayatmanaha. A doubting Thomas is never happy. He will always have trouble. And it is actually a reason for downfall. Faith is actually like a bird that sings in the morning, at dawn, waiting for the sun to come, even though it is darkness. It has complete faith that the sun will rise. There is an oft-quoted sentence which says, and one of our gurus was saying, we go and listen to one talk, we go and listen to other talk, and then we question what has been taught in one session to a teacher in the other session. And we are constantly trying to evaluate what people are saying rather than doing shravana and manana of what our guru says. Our teacher says, if you have not understood, have patience, have faith. The truth is being revealed, and over a period of time, the message will be extremely clear. And lots of us, I'm sure, will understand what the meaning of this is. This faith is active faith. It's not a static kind of faith, you just believe in something. What is samadhanam? Chitte gragrata is samadhanam. We have a lot of thoughts in our minds, and these thoughts are a lot of various kinds of thoughts that are going. Some of these thoughts are very good, and like the wind which takes the boat towards the shore, it can give us safety. But some of these thoughts can be really turbulent, and they can make a ship sink, which is brought out in this verse, Indriyanam hi charatam yan manognu vidhiyate tadasya harati niham vayurnava bimambasi. It is very important that we watch our thoughts, and these thoughts will take us into the right direction. These thoughts should be like a dhara, like the flow of honey. It should be one-pointed. It should be a focus, and that is very important. It should be like the light of a lamp, which doesn't flicker when there is no wind. It should be like the focus of Arjuna as the Matsya Veda. And when Arjuna felt a little proud that he could hit the eye of the fish, Krishna pointed out in a very gentle way that he it was who kept the waters still. So what is Dhamma and what is Uparati in relation to Shama? Dhamma with Uparati is Shama. If Shama is an effort, Samadhanam is the fruit. Oftentimes a question comes, is our car or a vehicle roadworthy? The question to ask is, are we worthy of self-inquiry? And sadhana chatushtaya is essential to become an adhikari. Only an adhikari can sit on that chair, and that is the jnana yogyata prapti. To attain this qualification of shatka sampatti, which is discipline, upasana yoga is the most important. The other three is through karma yoga. Having got jnana yogyata, karma and upasana yoga gives us the ability to go towards jnana yoga, which is the next, which is Vedanta, which is philosophical, and which gives us Jnana Prapti. It is only through these Upanishads that we have an end to wrong dependence and wrong expectations. Swami Paramarthanandaji clearly says that it is not enough to have the 4 Ds, which have been discussed in the last class, and discipline in this class, but it is equally important to have these 10 commandments. The don'ts are very important. Himsa varjitam, which is ahimsa. It should be non-violence, which could be physical, mental, and verbal. Asatya varjitam, which is satya, never lie. Stheya varjitam, which is astheyam, never steal. Maithunya varjitam, which is physical, mental, and verbal. Parigraha varjitam is avoid hoarding and amassing. And the do's are the niyamas, which are purity or shaucham, verbal, physical, and mental. Santosha or contentment. Tapaha, austerity, which is self-denial. Swadhyaya, scriptural study, which is the most important for us. Ishvara pranidhanam, which is complete surrender to the Lord, Ishvara arpita bhava, and prasada buddhi. Amongst all the thoughts that we have, some of them being good and some of them being bad, they become a habit, and over a period of time, it is essential by manushya prayatna and with the grace of the Guru, we convert these vasanas from the bad towards the good. There are so many people and they have so many different talks going on in that group. There are different noises, but the Shanti is only one. With this in mind, if these noises are considered as vikshepa or a distraction, let us look at Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti in a slightly different way. Sukha Dukkha Vikshepa Shanti would be Shama. Indriya Bhoga Vikshepa Shanti is Dama. Karma Vikshepa Shanti is Uparati. Sharira Saukhya Asaukhya Vikshepa Shanti is Titiksha. Samshaya Asamshaya Vikshepa Shanti is Shraddha. And Chanchala Manaha Vikshepa Shanti is Samadhanam. So this is very important to understand the problems, to get controlled each of them, the mind, the senses, have Uparati, have Titiksha, continue to have Shraddha, only then we can have a one focus Samadhanam. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namah.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar. Ravi, will you moderate the session? That was a brilliant presentation, Dr. Ravi Shankar. In a very short time, you covered the entire Guru Mantras, the significance and the importance of the Guru from the Guru Gita, and these 6 virtues which prepare a person to be able to enter into a spiritual field, are the most important qualifications. The topic is now open for discussion. If Ravi, you are there, you can moderate.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ravi.
I'm Chanakya Mayor Dr. Hegde.
Please go ahead, Chanakya.
And Can we elaborate more on this titiksha, because cheerful acceptance of non-conducive situations?
So we have this problem, and it is very easy. It's easier said than done. When you have a problem of happiness, it's never a problem because you enjoy it. And every sukha has a dukkha following it. Shanti is different. Shanti is peace. But when there is sukha, there is always some dukkha added on. So it's important that this dvandvas, the pairs of opposites, have to be cheerfully accepted. And this has to be at the mental level. If we don't have this acceptance, we feel happy at a point of time, but we are bound to feel very low when the downs come up. And that is where we have titiksha. For example, there used to be times when there used to be so many people going in a car or in a train, and they're all packed like sardines, sweaty. People would still travel. At times, we have also gone through those stages. But that physical ability to bear all those problems, knowing that our destination is going to come in half an hour or maybe 1 hour, is probably titiksha. The struggle that one goes through, whether it is physical or mental, when you go for a parikrama or to the mountains, is also titiksha. When there is some sort of a hunger on a day of fasting, and we keep our mind away from food, is also a part of titiksha. When we are asked to sit on the ground in the presence of the Guru and not to be sitting on a chair, and we are not used to it because we have not practiced it. We have aches and pains, but in the presence of the Guru, we want to continue to sit on the floor. It's a practice of titiksha. All of them are at the physical level, but it also needs a lot of strength in the mind to do so. Sir, please add. I request you to add on if there's something more you would like to say, sir.
Dr. Ravi Shankar, I liked your example of destination, traveling to your destination very much. Very kind of you.
Thank you, sir.
You explained very well, Ravi Shankar.
Thank you, sir.
So Janaki Ram, you have to keep the meeting going. You are the one who's always full of questions. And
Thank you so much.
questions,
I think we should, Dr. Ravi Shankar and perhaps Dr. Hegde also should elaborate more on Shraddha. Shraddha is basically also relating to understanding of what we read or understanding the Guru's words. And so can we have more discussion on Shraddha?
So it is very easily said that we must have Shraddha in the words of the Guru as well as what the Vedanta Vichara says. If I can look at it from this angle, when we have a destination to reach and somebody gives us a route map and the place has never been visited by us ever, we just follow the route map. We believe that we are going to reach there because this is the route. But when a guru tells us that this is what has to be done, we have a little doubt in our mind. Is this right? Is it ever possible? Is this knowledge here and now ever possible? Is this statement given by the Guru right? Is it possible? Has something like this happened to somebody else? Am I sure that I'm going to reach? And doubt is definitely not a part of Shraddha. So not having it, I think, is Shraddha. But the ability to ask a question and clarify that is an essential part of Vedanta. I think that is where that little discussion about which is Shraddha, which is faith, is essentially very important. And it is only a person who has got Shraddha who will go ahead and have the grace. If we continue to doubt what the Guru says, it is quite certain, like what Sri Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, that we don't go towards the goal.
Really, the doubt aspect, it is a long effort required which makes us, give up, or that is the whole persistence or perseverance.
Yes. So these probably these points which have been brought out in the Shatka Sampatti are not individual by themselves. They are all together, and one complements the other, which means if we have perseverance at our sense level and the mental level, and we have titiksha, only then we can also have a shraddha at the same time. But if we don't have all of them together, then samadhanam doesn't come up. So they are all interlinked for sure.
If I can add a word on Shraddha, Dr. Ravi Shankaran. The whole spiritual approach is by three things. It is called Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhuti. Shruti means all our learnings come from the scriptures. Yukti means logic, and Anubhuti is experience. So when a student first comes to the teacher wants to share scriptural knowledge. But whenever the scriptural knowledge is not logical, or whenever it is not in accord with my experience, the student has a problem. And therefore, the teacher's emphasis will be bringing out the teaching more from a logical angle so that the teacher is able to get a certain amount of rapport. So the student feels that my teacher is talking, whatever he's talking, yeah, makes sense. So as long as we are in the same wave, they go together. So for the certain time, the teacher is with the student as far as his experiences are concerned, as far as his logic is concerned. But whenever a point comes which is beyond logic, which seems not logical at all, it seems illogical to the human mind, or it seems against my experience. Common example is given about sunrise and sunset. I can clearly see the sun setting and sun rising, but the fact is, the truth is just the other way around. The sun does not set, it is the rotation of the earth. Now, how does the teacher bring about such a knowledge which is in reverse of our experience? Now, this is possible only through Shraddha. That is why all these are the preparation sadhanas before the teacher gives the knowledge. The teacher begins to tell the student whatever the gospel or the scripture says is 100% true. Now, what do I know as 100%? When I see something with my eyes, when I hear something with my ears, I trust my sense organs 100%. Slowly, the teacher will begin to say, you have got 5 senses. You trust your senses 100%. Just like you trust your eyes, your ears, your sense of smell, taste, and your touch, so too can you trust the scriptures also. That day, when the scriptures become the 6th sense, that is when Shraddha becomes complete. And when Shraddha becomes complete, if it is not according to my logic, it is not according to my experience, even though I still see the sun setting and the sun rising, now I know the sun never sets, the sun never rises, the sun is wherever it is, but now my knowledge becomes very clear.
So well brought out, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Janakiram, you should initiate more such discussion.
Other participants will have something to ask, but this is one more question about, we started with Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva, Maheshwara. So it's always a necessity of a guru is required, but all may not be in a position to go and spend time with the guru. Then what is the way out?
Our teacher and Sriman Dr. Timap Hegde oftentimes says, if you are ready, the guru comes to you. So if we say that we don't have a guru, maybe we must think whether we are ready. I would put it that way. However, I think we have to make an earnest effort to aim to get a guru. And I'm sure sir will be able to advise what is the route map to go ahead and see if we can get a guru in his absence. If we feel the absence, how to get a guru. So
No,
would you
my
like to?
point is, can this be considered as, Param Veda, attending these kind of programs is a substitute or as a guru like?
I would request Thima Pekade sir to kindly say yes to that.
Yes, of course, Dr. Ravi Shankar. See, just like all of us are looking for a guru,
Yes.
a qualified teacher is all the time keeping his radar open to be able to transmit. The teacher is really looking for a prepared student. And if you really look in the world around, the number of people who are prepared, who are looking for a teacher, is honestly much less than compared to the number of teachers who are there to be able to teach. Now, fortunately and very fortunately, today in the era of technology, we have great acharyas, highly qualified, highly skilled people who are available at our convenience, at our time, whether you want it at 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 11 a.m., when you put them on. So I really feel that technology has brought out great acharyas available to us at our convenience. So Mr. Janakiram and to all the others listening, I think the Guru Tattva principle or the Guru principle comes to us in different ways. It does not have to be a traditional acharya who is robed, but in different ways, through different means, when we are ready. Also, yes, last time in the last class, it was Dr. Komal who gave the example of a student who was taken by a teacher and whose head was pushed under the water. And then he struggled to get his breath. Now, when the intensity is so much, now that is the sort of intensity when we have. And when we have that kind of intensity, magical connections will happen. You will get a Guru Tattva. You will get somebody who will be the pipeline for you from where the teaching will come. And I think this module of the online programs has brought a large number of people in access to the gurus. And someday maybe you will have direct access to the teacher. For us, it is Swami Paramarthananda who's speaking through all of us. He's directly available also, but of course we may have to go to Chennai. Once a year he comes to Bangalore. But then what happens, I'm certain when he comes to Bangalore next time, there will be far more people going out to him because they would have been approached through many other reflectors of Swami Paramarthananda. This is my take on it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Intensity is the key. Thank you.
I think there are no more questions in the chat box also, Doctor.
All right. If there are no more questions, then I will just introduce the topic for the next week.
Excuse me, sir. I got a small question about Samadhana. I can see.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Samadhana is the essence of all the other 5 sampattis, and which you have rightly, to my liking, you have introduced it as Chanchala Manavikhyapa Santi.
Yes.
That means you have to control your mind, mana, and vikshepa, you throw it away all the things from your mind, then you can get the peace. Are there any other way to get Santi?
The
And to
dhyana.
get the Samadhana.
Yes.
And by getting Samadhana, all other Samadhi Sampattis, you can achieve it. That is what actually I feel. And you have guided in that particular way, giving examples and all that. And Samadhana coming last, I feel, is the essence of all the other 5. Am I in the right path, or is there any correction required, sir?
Samadhana is Chitta Ekagrita. And that will come only with prayatna and abhyasa.
So, if I could add a word, samadhana is not the first thing that takes care of the other five sampattis, but samadhana is what is achieved after all the others have come into being. So, if there is mana control, if there is mano nigrate, then there's shama, dama, and there is enough of uparati, it is only then that samadhana can come in. Without our training the mind and the senses, directly we cannot bring about quelling the thoughts of the mind, and samadhana is probably not the first step.
As you rightly said, Dr. Ravi Shankar, both in Tattva Bodha and Viveka Chudamani, there is a little difference in the take on what samadhana is. Tattva Bodha talks it as single-pointed mind. Single-pointed mind means it is a continuation of uparati. Uparati means when a student is absolutely focused, then he stops giving attention to everything else. Now his mind is focused on his goal. He is absolutely focused. Tulsi Das has mentioned somewhere. Now, a businessman, he may be on a holiday, he may be with his family on a trip to Ooty, but wherever he is, his mind is how I can make business, how, you know, in this holiday destination, is it a place for me to invest and make money? So a person who's investing, who's thinking of making money, will look at money making, whether he's on a holiday or wherever he is. So like that, if a spiritually oriented person has that sort of mindset, irrespective of whatever activity, if he's able to have that single pointed mind, that would be one idea of samadhana.
Yes.
Any other questions? If there are, you can still ask, but I will introduce the topic for the next week. The next week's speaker is Dr. Kiran. He will be talking on that mantra, Asatoma Sadgamaya, a very popular Upanishadic mantra, which all of us know. And the topic is about the three bodies, the three states of conscious, the three states of awareness, Jagra, Swapna, Shushupti, and the Panchakosha. Now, in Viveka Chudamani, this is brought about in a particular context. Now, after the student comes to the teacher, what kind of a student? One with all these qualifications. Once the person has all the qualifications and a person knows that he has done everything in life and he has not found fulfillment, explained by that nice Mundakopanishad mantra, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan Brahmana, comes to a teacher and says, teacher, can you give me an answer? Can you give me an answer for moksha, for Parama Purushartha? So he comes with 6 questions. What are the 6 questions? Who is this fellow? Who am I? That is called, what is Atma? What is Anatma? I see a world around me. If there is Atma and Anatma, there must be God. What is bondage? What is liberation? How to get out of this? And to begin this, the teacher begins with Anatma. Anatma means discussion of my body. My body is 3 bodies of 5 koshas. I live not in one world, but in 3 worlds, Jagrat, Swapna, Shushupti. In addition, we have the great mantra, Asato Ma Sadgamaya. That will be the topic. Dr. Kiran will be the speaker, neurosurgeon from Narayana Institute of Neurosciences. If there are no other questions, I would like to thank Dr. Ravi Shankar for a very excellent presentation. And I will leave it to Ravi Gerard to conclude today's class.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the School of Ancient Wisdom, I thank Dr. Ravi Shankar for your wonderful presentation on Samadhi, Satkar, and Sampati. And also Dr. Timappa Hegde for moderating the program. Thank you, doctors.
Thank you, sir.
So this one question, I'm so sorry I am asking you this at the end.
Please go ahead.
Ramana Maharshi used to say that the guru lives within, in the self, and what appears as a person outside is the very self. Could you please put some light on this?
Probably it is the essence of the Guru Tattva that is being highlighted. So there's no need for the physical presence of the Guru, but the Guru Tattva remains, and that is how it acts.
Okay, thank you. Sir, would you like to say something about it?
Ramana is one of the greatest souls ever, and a person from whom all of us have drawn a lot of inspiration. But Ramana is an exception in the whole spiritual path. He is one of those who got the whole grace of spiritual knowledge without a guru directly. So it is said that possibly he was so primed in his previous life that it, something triggered off, and the whole spiritual wisdom just came into him. Now, there are such exceptions, and we do see such exceptions. So Ramana is an exception, a spiritual genius who can manage without the presence of a teacher. Now, this is what we have been told. Now, if I need to learn to drive a two-wheeler, drive a car, I need a guru, somebody who will help me. If I need to do even cooking, or if I need to do a brain operation or anything, I will need a teacher who will teach. Now, these topics like going inwards, discovering who you are, requires a Guru Tattva like the GPS. And that is why it is important that you have someone whom you can clarify and ask these doubts. Because if there is no human who is able to come to your level, to understand a human mind, handhold you till a certain period of time, we will not be able to get these sense of direction. So in that way, an external guru is important. But once, of course, the external guru is there, the Guru Tattva will, as Dr. Ravi Shankar, will function from within. For most,
does it have to do with the intensity of the inquiry, regardless of the what one pursued in life? Does it have to do with the intensity of?
Yes, maybe. See, if a person is extremely intense and has a special genius, or, even in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, it all depends upon how much we have been primed before. So if there is a certain amount of priming, then a person can manage without the presence of an external guru. So that is possible. As you said, if the search is very intense, and there is already a certain amount of qualification which has come from the past, then, but these are exceptions.
Like Ekalavya. Everybody cannot be an Ekalavya.
Huh?
That's true. That's true.
I paid no, man.
With Ramana's discussion, can I add a point, sir?
Please.
He had a problem on his arm which needed surgery at a point of time, and it has been recorded that there was no need for anesthesia. So he was. Would it be titiksha, or would we say that he was beyond the koshas, and so it was not necessary? He had no pain. So.
He could take the mind off from that area.
Absolutely. So he was to take the mind away from that particular area and not experience pain. So titiksha is a process of developing it, but probably he was beyond the panchakosha, and he didn't even have to think about the physical being.
I think he was out of his human context.
I know he is an exception, certainly an exception to all of us. So,
Thank you very much, Ravi Shankar sir and Timothy Agde sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir. So we formally close. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.